we're gonna do. If all green is always on the sea, and we're gonna always bring to the last event. So get ready, get ready, 'cause here they come.
All right, welcome aboard, everybody. Manchild Show with Boy Green Digital at MC Show Digital, talking football with you. What a lovely, lovely, lovely Thursday. Buffalo Bills football in particular, as you see the lovely color scheme around us. We are presented by Northeast Roofing Professionals, NERPCNY.com. You see their lovely icon or logo above us in the center of the screen. And then today's video is brought to you by our friends at the Floral Gardens from the Allen Floral Group. Well, look, we are coming up on some of those quintessential holidays. Mother's Day. Who doesn't get flowers from mom? And Father's Day. You know, pops don't mind some flowers here or there either. That's not till June. But, you know, surprise the pops. Go outside the box here, you know. All right. Anyway, I'm not going to force a square peg into a round hole, but you know where to go. Our friends at the Allen Floral Group right here in central New York and Floral Gardens, one of their many lovely, lovely florists. Go see them today. All right. It is time to talk Buffalo Bills football. Let's bring in our Bills insider from Cover One, the one, the only, Mr. Anthony Prohaska. Anthony, we weren't with you last week. I must say, I missed you, pal. I missed you, my friend. How are you?
So yeah, let's give him, Floral Gardens. Let's give Anthony some flowers, huh? Let's give him some flowers right now for joining us on a week-to-week basis and dropping his Buffalo Bills insight. Let's give some flowers from Floral Gardens. There you go, Anthony. Great to have you. We missed you, pal.
I'm picking up on a little bit of disingenuousness. Doesn't really seem it, but
that hurts. Okay.
Yeah, thank you for the quote unquote flowers, I suppose. And it felt weird not doing the show last week. I was traveling for work, and then Jim, I know you were sick, so it kind of worked out.
Yeah, it worked out. It really did work out. Yes, did.
Yeah, good times.
Better now, my friend.
I'm glad to hear it. Glad to see it. And thank you for having me. And again, thank you, Paul, so much for the flowers. I could tell just how sincere you were with that. It means a lot.
I plucked them this morning, so they're fresh.
I bet.
Yeah.
I bet you did.
Okay. Yeah, Floral Gardens doesn't steal flowers from people's yards and then turn them into
That's you. That tracks so hard.
They have their own flowers.
Oh, I got these for you, honey, and then it like pans to the neighborhood and everybody's missing a bunch of flowers. Stems and roots.
All right, let's talk Buffalo Bills. We're coming out of the NFL meetings out in Arizona, Anthony, and obviously both Brandin Beane and Joe Brady spoke. Let's start with Joe Brady. I think one of the things that Brady, it felt like Brady was out there trying to preach, and this is what new coaches do. They try and preach where this whole thing is going, is this kind of new world, this Joe Brady new world. So maybe let me just ask you a general question about that. What do you envision the new world Joe Brady looking like? Is it going to be a new world? I mean, that guy was the offensive coordinator last year, all right, now he's the head coach. Is it truly going to be a new world?
I think that's a great question. I'm on the fence with it, but I lean more towards no, I don't think it's going to be a new world. I think it's more like 55-45. It'll kind of be the same. I think a lot of it, and I'm not necessarily saying this in a negative way or just disparaging way, but I think a lot of the talk from Brady and Beane this offseason, I feel like a lot of it has been too buzzwordy. It seems very just like, hey, I'm corporate coming in to do a presentation and I'm going to say synergy and all these words to show like where we're going. But it just for me, at least, it rings a little hollow. I think the actions behind the words haven't necessarily been there. And I think even if they were to a degree, this has been a very successful team for the past, 8-9 seasons. At this point, the offseason matters, obviously, but no one really cares what's happening in the offseason. It's about what happens come November, December, January, hopefully February. So that's kind of where I'm at. And I just think a lot of things have been too buzzwordy, and even kind of the word you use, like preachy, and it seems too salesy. I feel like I'm not listening to someone who's speaking and is like just preaching naturally. It seems like they're trying to preach or they're trying to sell me on something. And you pair that with kind of the lack of changes we've seen from a roster standpoint so far. And I don't think it's going to be a new world. And that's not necessarily bad. This is a team that's a regular Final Four contender in the AFC every year, but I don't think it's going to be too much of a new world.
Anthony, I want to go back to this because it's sort of been lost in the sauce. The Bills acquired DJ Moore, and we hear mid-round pick. We're like, oh, and they're like, oh, geez, it's this. And then we're like, oh, the contract's this. Oh, whoa, it's this. Oh, just kidding. It's this. So I'm very confused. Up and down. Maybe that's another one of your cover one buddies. Maybe this is a Greg Thompson cap question here, but like, so what's the real thing? Because I've sort of been lost. I'm like, okay, on the map, I'm in the car, I'm trying to drive. Oh, okay. Oh, geez, it's this. No, wait, it's over here. So what's really happened with this DJ Moore situation? Because to be honest with you, Anthony, depending on how you answer this, changes my perception of the DJ Moore thing. If it's a mid-round pick, I'm like, oh. If it's this contract, oh, I just feel very different based on what the true devil in the details are.
Yeah, so it ended up, I was right there with you. Like, I saw the trade news and I was like, oh, mid-round pick. And I was like, oh, okay. So I hear mid-round and I'm thinking 4. But I'm like,
Correct.
Okay,
yes,
but I'm thinking 4th, maybe 5th, but mid-round pick. And then especially knowing what the contract was, I was like, it might even be a 5th because his contract. Then it was like, no, it's a 2nd. And it was like, oh, okay, but they're going to eat some of the money, right? And it was like, no, the Bills are taking all the money and then they're going to restructure that money. And it was like, oh, so the easiest way to think about it is it ends up converting. So it's a 2nd-round pick they gave up. And then the money with the restructures they did, it essentially ends up converting to, I think, like a 3-year, 60, like high $60 million deal, like 68, 69, something like that, which is a decent chunk of change for DJ Moore. There's been so much talk within like the Bills community, especially with the wide receiver deals that have like come after, right? What Romeo Doubs got with the Patriots, then the trade for Jalen Waddle that Denver made, especially with, the Bills trying for Waddle at the deadline. I think the easiest way to like put it into perspective for me, at least, and kind of even answer your question, Paul, aside from what the trade value was and the money,
right?
If I took those 3 wide receivers that got deals and what it cost to get them, I would take Romeo Doubs and his deal over both of the other guys. I think I like Dobbs as a player, and he costs the least out of all 3 of those guys financially and from a draft capital standpoint. I would take DJ Moore and his compensation next, the 2nd-round pick and the money, and then I would put Waddle and his deal third because he's going to need a new contract, and you had to give up the 1st and some other capital as well. I think that's the easiest way to put it in perspective of like how to rank it, how to see it. I still think the price was a little steep for DJ Moore for the Bills, especially with his skill set, but we'll see how it ages. We'll see how it fits. But yeah, that's kind of what it is.
And quick follow-up here. I saw this from our mutual buddy, Sal Capaccio, WGR550, with Joe Brady talking about DJ Moore. He says, quote, he can play inside, he can play outside, he can run block, he makes dynamic plays down the field. You get the ball in his hands, and he's a little bit like a running back, end quote. And then he said he just had this very unique skill set. How are they going to utilize him? Now let's get into some schematics here with Anthony Prohaska. A little pro underscore ant action if you pick up what I'm putting down here. How is DJ Moore going to be utilized?
I think it starts with the speed and the juice that he has. He's somebody that can provide vertical stretch and horizontal stretch to the field and to a defense. So somebody who I think opens up things a little bit for the rest of the offense, helps it breathe a little bit. I think he's somebody who can make plays downfield. He can still run by people. He actually plays bigger at the catch point than I think he gets credit for. But he's also someone who you can spit it out to him on a little like RPO bubble or on one of those package plays, like a run with a pass tag. He's good on wide receiver screens. I do think he is a bit like a running back when he gets the ball in his hands. I think now you have DJ Moore and Khalil Shakir, who are both 2 guys that you want to kind of get the ball in their hands immediately once the snap happens, because I think they are like running backs when they get the ball in his hands. I do think he has a dynamic skill set. He can run block. So I don't think Brady's necessarily telling any lies or pumping anything up too much. Granted, he said some similar things about Curtis Samuel when they signed him a couple years ago, and we know how that turned out. But I do think DJ Moore is much more of a real deal. His athleticism is tested and tried and true. His speed is burst, and the physical tools and traits. My question is more of, will those physical abilities, how much do they diminish the year after and the year after that as we go forward in this contract? But I think everything Brady said is very applicable. And, I think more importantly than anything, he bumps everybody down in the pass catching pecking order, which is very nice. Now Palmer gets to breathe a little. Keon Coleman can develop a little bit more. Shakir gets some help. Kincaid, if he can stay healthy, we'll see what happens with him, but he gets some help. I think DJ Moore slots in at the top of the depth chart and really opens things up for the offense with the physical tools that he has and he plays with.
Anthony, to me, one of the more exciting offseason moves that the Bills made was their defensive coordinator, Jim Leonard, a guy that both Boy Green and myself wanted for our teams when we were searching for defensive coordinators. Neither one of us ended up with Leonard, but you did. So let's talk about the Buffalo Bills and what they may look like with Jim Leonard as the new DC.
This move of them hiring Leonard is really the only thing that's gotten me truly excited about the Bills offseason. I've wanted Jim Leonard for several years. You can check the receipts on Twitter. Like, I started tweeting about him coming to the Bills in like 2023. I just think what he is as a defensive mind, his philosophy, his identity, his approach is what the Bills defense needed. And I think it's very much in line with what NFL defenses are. Multiplicity, hybridization, schematic fluidity, not overloading your players, but still having adjustments and checks built into the defense, having a game, like a matchup based game plan week in and week out, where you kind of strip everything down and then build it from there based on who and what your opponent is, and dictating to an offense, really putting them on the back foot, making them have to go to the sideline, check the Windows tablet and see what's going on. What are we seeing? What do we need to adjust? One of my favorite quotes from him is, we talk about he never wants to be a counterpuncher. Like, he wants to come out and do the dictating. And I think that's really exciting. And I think you can expect the Bills defense to play more on the front foot. I think you'll get that odd front base defense, more of a 3-4 nature for fans who, are kind of tapped into that a bit, but you're still going to see the 4-down sub package work in his defense, which is essentially what McDermott ran all the time when the Bills were here. So you're going to get a little bit of everything with some changes in philosophy and identity and scheme and structure, more single high coverages, more match coverages, especially if he kind of taps into what the Broncos have done the past several years with their unique style of defense, what Vance Joseph preached on the back end. But I'm excited. I think he raises the schematic and structural floor of the Bills defense. I don't think they necessarily acquired the right body types or skill sets to maximize the ceiling for his defense this year, but we'll see what happens going forward.
Let's stay on defense. AJ Epinesa, we brought him up a couple weeks ago with you, and he looked like he was going to the Browns and had a 1-year deal for $5 million, and then it goes off the board. They weren't comfortable with the physical. And man, I just have to say, first off, this just sucks for AJ because it seemed like it took a long period of time between him agreeing to terms and then them actually going through the physical. So a lot of places AJ could have gone are probably dried up. The failed physical can only hurt him in the free agent market and make him get less money. Is there a reunion with the Bills in the horizon for a bag of half-eaten Doritos, or what's happening here for AJ now?
I do think with how the edge room is constructed of Rousseau, Chubb, you have Michael Hoyt returning from injury, but he's somewhat of a question. Like, you don't know what shape he's going to be in coming off the Achilles injury. But that's your top three. And even if Hoyt was 100% good to go, I still think they need more bend, more juice, more change of direction capability, explosion, pop, however you want to verbalize it, in that edge room. I think there is a lot of like and same to a degree between Rousseau, Chubb, and Hoyt. Yes, like Chubb has more athleticism and fluidity than Rousseau does, and Hoyt has more versatility than all three of those guys. So I'm not saying they're the same person, but I think there's more overlap than there is kind of uniqueness, I would say, to each of them. So I would like them to add a different skill set to the edge room. I would like more juice, more pop, more bend. But if they were to go with Epinesa, again, especially with, they know the status of Hoyt, what he's going to look like this year. We'll see what the draft entails. Maybe they aren't able to get an edge that they feel comfortable with. And I think AJ Epinesa sets a high floor. If Hoyt is good to go and AJ Epinesa is your edge 4, that could work out potentially. I think he's more of a true even front edge than he is like a 3-4 outside linebacker edge type of deal. So I don't think the fit is necessarily seamless, but I could potentially welcome that reunion, depending on what happens in the draft, if the board doesn't fall their way and they aren't able to add to the edge room, which is something they need to do.
Another little transaction for the Bills. They made a decision on Dalton Kincaid, and that 5th-year option has been picked up. Talk about that. What does that mean in terms of what the Bills are up to?
I think they always said they were going to pick it up. I think for a lot of folks, it was a no-brainer. I think it made sense to pick it up. I I think Dalton Kincaid is just a wonky player. When he's on the field and healthy, he's been their number one pass catcher. He's been very effective. He's a walking mismatch in a variety of ways as a pass catcher and as a route runner and as a guy in space. But his role and usage is somewhat limited because you can't use him in line as a true blocker. You can't attach him to the line of scrimmage and run towards him. So there are some tendencies and tells and giveaways with him. And then the injury history, like he's missed games. Then there's games when he is playing, but he's on a pitch count and he can't really be out there, as much as you'd like him to be, which is already kind of limited because of the inline aspect. He's more of a power slot or a bigger bodied wide receiver than he is a tight end if you really had to kind of boil it down. But then you had the injuries on top of it and it's muddy. I think it made sense to pick up the 5th-year option. I'm really interested to see what happens going forward because if he has another injury-plagued season, I think it's kind of like, what do you do with him? Is this somebody you can count on long term? Do you bring him back at a modest deal? Or if he does ball out and stays healthy, is it something that the rest of the league tries to tap into? Because, when he's been healthy, he has been productive. There's a lot of potential avenues with Dalton Kincaid and the Bills, a lot of muddiness, but it all starts with his health, which is a question mark. And then the usage, which isn't a question mark. You're not lining him up attached to the formation and using him in a traditional tight end sense much at all.
The Manchild Show with Boy Green Digital inside the Buffalo Bills today with Anthony Prohaska from Cover One. If you're out there, please subscribe to our channel. You see the link right there, youtube.com/MC Show Digital. If you're already a subscriber, well, you can hit that like button, or you could even become a member. Memberships available on the channel as well. And we're actually having a monthly raffle for memberships. Maybe we'll chat about that a little bit later in this video. Today, we are presented by Northeast Roofing Professionals and brought to you by our friends at the Floral Gardens. Let's just take 30 seconds, and then we're back with more.
Well, hello, how do you do? I got a feeling I'm falling for you. Well, hello, what do you say? I think we can make it a beautiful day. We're gonna make it a beautiful day.
All right, we are back talking all things Buffalo Bills. Manchild Show with Boy Green Digital at MC Show Digital. And there's that scrolling ticker I was telling you about. So, Anthony, every month now we're doing raffles on our show. We're giving away lovely, lovely prizes. Let's see how you feel about these two, Anthony. I don't know if you're much of a college basketball freak, but this month we're giving away a 2003 cover of, it's actually not the cover, it's the entire magazine, Sports Illustrated. That is, of course, when Syracuse won the national championship of college basketball, our only national championship, in pristine condition. So a lovely collector's item. Perhaps you could even track down Carmelo, who is seen coming and going from the JMA Wireless Dome these days with his son playing on the team. Get that thing autographed, and now you got yourself something that you could have framed and have for life. The other piece of this is interesting, Anthony. I know you're not going to recognize this autograph, but it is a harmonica. Okay, this is the case, and then the harmonica itself, I'll pull it out in a second, is also autographed. Ever watched the Blues Brothers, Anthony? Ever been a Blues Brothers guy? This is the one, the only Dan Aykroyd who has autographed this harmonica.
That signature looks nothing. I would never.
Right?
Definitely not.
Out, right? It's like a lot.
It looks like a kid scribbled on
this
it.
one, the D on this one looks pretty definitive.
That's better.
That's a little bit better. But
so he go. It looks like he goes with a big D and then an A for Dan Aykroyd. That's fair. That's fair. On the harmonica, it shows good.
So for all you Blues Brothers freaks, the Dan Aykroyd autographed harmonica. So it's those two items going out the door together. We do our raffles on the 22nd because that's my lucky number. And here, look, we even have a certificate of authenticity. That is indeed Dan Aykroyd signing that harmonica.
Pretty cool.
That he
pretty official.
did it. So you don't have to go pay for one of those COAs. You got your own COA right there. I'll send that out with the harmonica as well. But a pretty cool collector's item and a very unique item. So all you have to do is either super chat, super sticker for $3. $3, the equivalent of $3 is worth a raffle ticket. If you become a member at our lowest level, which is $4.99 a month, called the 12th Manchild, you get 2 automatic raffle tickets, and then you can add to that. You could buy memberships and add many more than that. 5 memberships or more that you buy for others. 20 raffle raffle tickets. If you join our Hall of Fame level, which is our highest level, you get 10 raffle tickets. And by the way, you'll get those in perpetuity as long as you renew your membership. Every raffle, you'll get a free 10 raffle tickets for being a Hall of Fame member. We have a couple of Hall of Fame members now, so they are leading the top of our leaderboard right now. So exciting stuff. We're going to be doing monthly raffles, and this is just the first of many. So there you go.
Yeah, cool. Before we go on any further, I want to give another shout out to our sponsors, Floral Gardens. And I just want to say this. I very nicely, very delicately, very eloquently place some beautiful flowers at the feet of one Anthony Prohaska to start the show. And he's like, I don't know how genuine this is. So since he threw a challenge flag on me, I'd like to throw a challenge flag on a mannerism of one Anthony Prohaska. And you guys will notice this when we're like throwing up this, right? I throw this up on the screen. He does it. When you're showing the sponsors, he does it. He gives me one of these.
I clap. That's not true.
That feels like
You're
the most condescending golf clap I've ever seen.
No,
Hey,
absolutely
it's not. Well, let me tell you this. There's a difference between that clap that you just gave and like this thunderous applause. There's a wow factor there. Yours is like.
There's a huge difference. You're doing this. I don't do this ever. It's straight up 2 hands together. It's a clap. One, I'm not trying to make noise because Jim is speaking or the sponsor is speaking. Nice. So I'm not trying to go over the audio. I'm trying to give some nonverbal visual cues of support, and I'm clapping. It's not a petty golf clap. It's a real clap, and I do it softly to not make noise. So kick rocks. You can have your flowers back that you so sincerely brought to me and left at my feet.
I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
See, because my kids, right? They have this one toy. It's a monkey that does this, and that's what it feels like. I'm getting this, with the symbols. It's symbols, okay? And they're doing this action, but like it feels like that. It's just a very condescending.
But that's not it at all. But you're all of the motion you're doing is all different. It's never this.
I don't know.
It's never this. It's a quick one of these, and I do it soft. See, even that. Yeah, that's too much noise. I'm doing it soft. Yeah. Trying to keep it silent because I'm not trying to speak over the sponsor read. The sponsors want their verbiage read. They want everything announced for them.
My flowers were more genuine. My flowers were more genuine than your
They were absolutely not. Absolutely not. We can go to the tape. My claps are on tape. We can pull up the tape. Roll it.
How do I stop you guys?
How dare you?
Anywho, you tell me whether this is okay. Here you.
I need to go back in the middle. I get stop.
Yeah. There you go. That's probably for the best. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This is a beautiful segue because I am a lead pipe wielding professional. Okay. You tell me whether this was genuine. Okay. God. Brandin Bean says he's been in contact with free agent Brandin Cooks and his agent. Is that genuine, or is that just a bunch of BS? That's just a nice thing to say. Yeah, we've been talking. That doesn't guarantee anything. That doesn't promise anything. It doesn't say something's going to happen. But are those genuine keeping in contact, or is that just like you pass someone in the hallway, say what's up, and you don't want them to say anything more than good, and just keep walking? So what's the real? Is that genuine?
Oh, that's a good analogy too. No, I do think it's genuine.
Okay.
I think they would welcome Brandin Cooks back. I would welcome Brandin Cooks back. I think ideally it's tough now because they don't have a second round pick and, they didn't really answer a lot of the questions on the defensive side of the ball in free agency. So I do think, and this is, I think, frustrating for a lot of Bills fans here. I do think they need to spend a good chunk of draft capital in this draft on the defensive side, but they do still need another wide receiver for this year and beyond. And if the board doesn't fall their way, I would welcome Brandin Cooks back, even if it does fall their way. If they end up taking a receiver in round 1 or 3 or 4 or whatever, it's somebody who can be at the top of the depth chart this year. Keon Coleman is still a question mark. Josh Palmer with the injury history, we'll see how that goes. Tyrell Shavers is probably out until November, December with his injury. I thought Brandin Cooks, there was a lot of jokes made, because of him being like the number 1 option for the Bills in the playoffs at this stage of his career. But I think lost in that was he was a consummate professional. Like, he's still a good football player. Should he be a top of the depth chart guy at this point in his career? No, but I still think he's a very effective, very capable receiver. I think he showed a lot of leadership with this team. He looked sincerely emotional and affected by how they lost in Denver. I think he's good for the room. He built a good rapport with Josh Allen right away. I think it also says something that Josh Allen started trusting him like kind of right away and when he needed to, I would welcome Brandin Cooks back. I think they're genuinely keeping tabs on him and keeping the lines of communication open.
All right, here's another genuine question. All right?
You can't say it with that smile. It just seems so misleading. It's like Rumpelstiltskin telling me, I got a great deal for you. Let me tell you.
Well, because here's just to say, because I don't want to paint this. I want you to get your real answer on this, but I read this and eye roll. So, but you interpret it as you will. So at the annual league meetings, Joe Brady brings up Keon Coleman and says that his work ethic and personality reminds me of Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, who he coached at LSU. And this is a guy who couldn't even show up on time. And all of a sudden, oh my goodness, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase level work ethic is happening here. I don't know, man. That seems like a little much. If Aaron Glenn, right, Lurch made a joke about this at the beginning. I don't even know if it was on air or off air. Like, oh, promised land for Geno Smith. Oh, yeah. If we're gonna be catching strays for promised land, you're telling me Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase references for Keon freaking Coleman who can't show up on time? Let's get some balance in the diet. I heard that's good.
I do think that's a bit of an eye roll. I will say this, and not even just to play devil's advocate for. I don't know if he means it from a pure like practice habits or like off-season routine. Because also, again, to tie this in with Keon Coleman, like let's not forget, I know what his standing is right now. He showed up to camp and to the preseason last year looking tremendous. Like he put a ton of work in to improve. That was very legitimate. Like he grinded in the offseason to get better. The issue was, exactly to your point, Paul, the season came around and he kind of, I don't know, rested on his laurels or whatever verbiage we want to use, but exactly right. Like missing me, showing up late, missing stuff, just things that are absolutely unacceptable. So maybe from like a workout standpoint, he sees the comparisons. But I agree to your point. Like, I think work ethic, and I view all of that in totality. It's the weight room stuff. It's the technique stuff. It's showing up on time. It's watching film. It's everything. So I wouldn't put him in the same bucket as those other guys, or honestly, not even those guys. Like, I wouldn't put him in the same bucket with any of the other guys on the Bills who I think are working hard at the same level and also showing up on time everywhere. But yeah, I think it's a bit of an eye roll. Maybe he meant it in a different way. But I would not back that statement, just given where Keon is at this point. But, I understand he's trying to pump up his receiver a little bit, who he apparently vouched for and pounded the table for the past couple of years. And again, not to play devil's advocate, Keon has a bunch of talent. He just needs to not have a head full of crap anymore. And if he can do that, maybe he can be a lasting player in this league.
But that is the stupidest thing of all time, that he's willing to cut his body and do all the grinding work and saunas and all this, and then showing up at 7:55 versus 8:30. Like that gets lost in translation. Like my little peanut brain, which is very small, rattling around in this brain, my head, my skull over here. Like I can't wrap my brain around that. But
it is very like it's so much harder to have a proper diet and work out and work on your routes and like be in the hot sun, grinding and sweating and working. Like it's so much harder to do all that consistently than it is just to wake up on time, get in the car and drive to practice.
Yep. All right. Last one for me, Anthony, at least topically. And that's this. And we haven't had a chance to debunk this yet or to talk about it, but it is fascinating. One of the things that we found out, and we knew that in week 16, Josh Allen had hurt his foot, is that the guy was playing with a broken bone in his foot. Mm-hmm. And as described by members of the Bills, the guy during the week could barely walk, and yet he was going out there, and we weren't really seeing any signs of that in games, which was fascinating. Joe Brady at the NFL meetings this week said the following about Josh Allen. So I want to kind of combine these two into one question. Here's the quote from Joe Brady. My goal as the QB coach, as the OC, and now the head coach is I want Josh Allen to play as long as Josh Allen physically can play. The game of football is better off with Josh Allen playing. There's going to come a time in his career when his legs aren't going to be able to do what he can do now, and he's not going to have to become a true pocket passer. We're not there yet, right? But I have to be mindful of that when I'm calling plays. Give me your thoughts about what this all means And what about that whole thing about how Josh Allen basically played through it? What sounded like a pretty serious injury. As a matter of fact, he had off-season surgery on it, and they do expect him back in time for camp and all the activities that the Bills will be going through.
Yeah, I think first kudos to Allen for grinding through and doing what he can. He's had a couple injuries the past several years where, like, getting by the time the end of the season rolls around, he's playing banged up. I mean, there was even one, the biggest one that I think everyone will remember. Paul, you'll remember this, when I don't remember what year it is, when the Bills lost to the Jets in New York. That ended with the, like, Allen guns it like 70 yards downfield and it gets dropped by Gabe Davis.
2022, yep.
Yes. He gets hit right before that. I think it was
Bryce Huff.
Yep, thank you.
Yep, he got him on the
yes.
Yep.
And it jacks up his right shoulder. He plays through the rest of the year. He even throws that like 70-yard bomb at the end with the hurt shoulder. But that messed him up a little bit. And it's been a bunch of things like that. Like week 7, week 8 to like week 10, 11, he seems to pick up something. And it kind of lingers throughout the year. But again, he plays a physical style of quarterback. He is mobile. He is physical. He runs. He slides, but he doesn't like the slide. They use him on the sneaks. He'll put his head down, all that stuff. So kudos to him for grinding. But I think tying into that, and this is something Sean McDermott has said for years too, of like trying to protect Josh Allen physically. It is for the individual seasons, but to Brady's point as well, it is for the longevity of his career. And there's a certain point, whether it's because of injury or just age, he's not going to have that mobility. You know, his legs aren't going to be that. He's going to eventually hit the Ben Roethlisberger wall where you have to play in the pocket. And I think that's part of what has been exciting about his progression the past couple of years. I always say it, not to knock him as an athlete, but I always say like if Josh Allen can play more like Drew Brees, that becomes really scary. Because if you have that kind of processing and that kind of recognition and decision-making, but you're doing it in the physical frame and athleticism that Josh Allen has, that's a very deadly combination. And I think it's something that they have to be cognizant of as an organization. You know, they want Josh Allen here for a very long time, and essentially he will be. But there is a certain point where, just like any pitcher, right? You come up and you're throwing 99 or 100. At a certain point, your fastball is going to go down to what? 95, 94, 93. And when that happens, do you have a changeup? Do you have a curve? Can you locate your pitches? Do you know how to keep batters off balance? At a certain point, you have to start pitching more so than throwing. I think Allen's been already starting to do that the past couple of years, but it's good that they have that in their mind, in their back pocket of trying to preserve him and essentially this franchise for as long as possible.
Yeah, you got to get crafty as a pitcher, right? You got to learn.
Exactly.
You got to be a pitcher. You know, not just
or do all the. I'm thinking of
all
the major league stuff, the jalapeno in the nose and the Crisco on the head, and getting creative as you get older. Yes, everything you got to do. Any one of them will give you a couple extra 2 or 3 inches drop on your curveball. Yeah, all that.
You know, was it Eddie? I'm trying to remember his name from Major League, right? Eddie something, right? Eddie, right? The guy who also was in Hoosiers as one of the annoying parents, and then as one of the annoying parents. And that was a trip.
A couple random movies as the bad guy. Yeah.
Last one, real quick, and that is this also came up at the NFL meeting, so I wanted to get to it, and that is the possibility of the Bills picking a wide receiver with that first round pick. They definitely didn't debunk that. As a matter of fact, they are saying they are certainly considering it, despite the acquisition of DJ Moore, and whatever they might be thinking of here in free agency. Whether that's, again, re-signing Brandin Cooks, whether that's also looking at some guys that are out there like a Juwan Jennings or somebody like that's available. Give me your thoughts. Do you think the Bills will draw first blood with a wide receiver in round 1 of this year's NFL draft, now just a few weeks away?
I do think they are sincerely looking at adding a wide receiver. I think part of them saying that at the league meetings was more of like not showing their cards and being like, hey, no, everything's on the table for us. I don't think it would be crazy to take a receiver at 26, depending on who it is. I think with their needs defensively, I would prefer them not to. And again, I would prefer a trade back over anything. But if a certain player falls, a certain wide receiver falls, let's load up on offense and just give Josh Allen as many weapons. You got a good offensive line, good run game. Screw it. Let's go be a glass cannon and try and score 35 to 40 points every game, and then rely on Jim Leonard to just hold an offense to 20 or 25, and we'll play shootouts every week type of deal. But I do think it is something they're sincerely considering. I don't think, the wide receiver room is finished from their perspective, even from a lot of fans' perspective. I think they're going to add another wide receiver. I think it's possible if the right one falls to them at 26. But I do think there are bigger fish to fry on the roster right now. But again, if the right player falls, you never know. Like maybe Jordan Tyson falls because of all the injury concerns. That's a kind of wary mystery box in and of itself. But if he's healthy, he's the best wide receiver in this class to me. Or maybe it's Casey Concepcion with the type of skill set and juice that he brings. So yeah, we'll see. It'll be very interesting. I think a lot of fans would be happy if they went wide receiver again, because everybody just wants to throw every ounce of support towards Josh Allen and kind of see what happens.
Yeah, he's kind of the engine that makes it run. All right, Anthony Prohaska, as always, another entertaining, engaging week. We'll talk to you again next week, my friend.
Thank you very much. See, I'll clap louder now because now I'm
Thank
the
you.
one speaking.
Oh, I can hear it.
I want to talk over Jim. Thank you. Thank you guys for having me as always. I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, we're all doing it now. Good times.
Yeah.
And see you guys next week.